All right, in this case, we have two investments, product, an annual interest income of $4,200. The amount of invested at 14% is given to us is $6,000 less than the amount of interest at 10%. So everything looks like it's in terms of 10%. So what we can do in this case is, since we already know how to set up two equations and two unknown, let's assume X and Y be the amount of the investment that we're making on different accounts here. So let's assume that X is the amount invested at the first account, 14%. And the second one, we assume Y be, I'll put the lines here, the amount invested at 10% account. That's how you start solving this word problem here. Now, we know that the relationship between X and Y here. Can anybody give me the relationship between X and Y when we know the amount invested in 14% account, which is X, is $6,000 less than the amount invested in 10%. All right, let's start from top of the list here. Amenia, can you tell me what would be the relationship between X and Y? If you know. If you don't know, just put the X mark next to your name so I can move on. That's okay. Okay. Those of you who don't know, just go ahead and put the X mark so I don't have to ask you. Okay, the rest of you that you don't put the X mark, I'm assuming that you have some answer for me. And we want to write down the relationship between X and Y. Here it says the amount invested at 14% is equal. So I see Priscilline, do you want to tell me the typing choice? Kevin, Kiona, if you don't have X next to your name, do you want to give me your answer? What do you think would be the relationship? No, what I want is the relationship between X and Y. I want to translate this. The amount invested in 14%. Well, we said the amount invested in 14%, we're going to call it X. Right? So this whole thing would be X. Okay. Good. You have one answer here. You say X minus Y. Well, we haven't got to that point yet. Just the relationship between the amount that we are investing here. That's what we're asking. The relationship between X and Y would be X is equal to the amount invested in 14% means equal $6,000 less than the amount invested in 10%. The amount invested in 10% is Y. 6,000 less than that would be minus 6,000. Does that make sense? That's how you set up the first relationship. Okay, if you follow up to this point, can you change your X to to the check mark. At least I know we can follow that. That's exactly what the problem says. The amount invested at 14%, we call it X, which is assumed to be X, means equal 6,000 less than the amount invested in 10%. So it would be the amount invested in 10% is Y. 6,000 less than that would be Y minus 6,000. So everybody can follow up to this point. You have to start with some assumptions. What's X, what's Y, how much you're investing in each account, and then write down the relationship between those two. So that is one equation and two unknowns, X and Y. So we need one more equation here to complete this. Now, to come up with the other equation, let's kind of look at some figures here. Now, if the amount invested in first account is right here, and the amount invested in the second account is right here, okay, you're adding these two, and you're getting something out of this. How much do we get out of this investment altogether? It says right here that we are going to get 4,200. That's given to us, right? So this would be, if I add the amount invested in each account, I should add up to this amount here. Okay. Now, let's see how much we have in first account. The first account, we are investing X dollars. We don't know how much we're going to invest. I'm going to put X dollars here. Now, what we get out of this account is 14% interest. So I'm going to put 14% down here. In the second account, I'm getting Y. I'm putting Y dollars. I don't know how much exactly, but I know for sure I'm going to get 10% from investing in this account. So maybe you go to two different banks. If you go to the first bank, they say whatever amount that you enter here for us, we give you 14%. You go to another bank, they give you, they say whatever amount you give us, we give you only 10% interest. But you want to invest some money in both accounts, and ultimately we know that you're going to get 4,200 from that. So to write the formula here, the first account gives you X times 14%, and the second account gives you Y times 10%. And this should add up to 4,200. Okay, we all know how to write 14% in decimal, right? 14 divided by 100 would be 0.14. So the first account, I give you 0.14x. The second one would be 0.10, that's 10%. Y is equal to 4,200. So that is the second equation that I needed, which I can put right here, 0.14x plus 0.10y is equal to 4,200. So I have two equations and two unknowns, so I can solve for this. Now, if everybody can understand how to set up the second equation, please put a check mark next to your name. If you don't follow it, put the X next to your name so we can talk about this a little bit more. But that's the first part everybody should understand. So I got two relationships out of this word problem. I assumed X to be amount of the investment at 14%, Y is the amount invested at the 10%, and then I came up with those two equations. Yes, Renee asking, we changed the percentages into the decimal. Yeah, in order to solve any problem involving percent, you need to either change that percent into the decimal or fraction, and in this case, seems to be decimal would be the easier one. So since everybody put a check mark next to their name here, I'm assuming that we're okay up to this point. Now we're going to quickly solve these two equations and two unknown using whatever method that we like. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. So the first equation that I have so far is 0.14x plus 0.10y is equal to 4,200. The second equation is x is equal to y minus 6,000. Okay, we can solve this equation using either substitution method or addition method, and those are the two methods that we looked at. And also we have a graphic method. Graphic method is not very popular method because it's hard to find the intersection of two lines when you graph them in the graph. So we are not gonna do that. So substitution method or addition method, which one would be easier to use right now? Just ask this question from anyone. Substitution method or addition method, which one? Okay, most of you are putting substitution method. I like that because it's already the second equation is solved x in terms of y. So that probably would be the best method to use. So for everywhere I see x in the first equation, I would substitute this corresponding value in terms of y. So that would be the method, substitution method. So in this case, I would have one place here that has x in there. I would substitute that. In this case, I would substitute y minus 6,000. By doing that, you're forcing this equation to have only one variable, one unknown, which is y. So we can solve for that. And this is basically what the substitution method is. If everybody can follow up to this point, could you please put a check mark next to your name? This is the substitution method. That's another. We have a few other problems. Also, you would see this kind of problem on the final exam, where you have to solve by substitution, or a similar investment problem like this for final exam, also next exam. All right. So over here, how about if I multiply each term by a factor of 10, so I won't have those decimals anymore. If I multiply, here I have two decimals here, 2 digits after decimal points. Here I have 2 digits after decimal points. I have 3 terms. This is separated by the plus. So I have one term right here, and I have one term right here, and I have one term right here. If I multiply each of these terms by 100, I would eliminate the decimal. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to multiply each of these 3 terms by 100. To eliminate the decimal. Remember, when you multiply each term by a number in your equation, you have to multiply that number by each term. So we do that here, multiply each term by 100, and then we can eliminate all the decimals. So this one turns into simply 14. Y minus 6,000. The second term, we would have 10 y, and this number, we have more zeros in front of that. All right, so this way we don't have decimals anymore, so we distribute here. So we have 14 y minus, we have 14 times 6,000, 84,000, plus 10y is equal to this number. Now, remind you, the solution to all these problems are already posted in class. That's all you have to do is just click on that and go over the solution. Of course, those solutions are done without any students present. So if you run into a problem, these are the questions that you have to ask today. Make sure to view these solutions so you would be able to ask better questions during the session. So here we have 14y plus 10y. So that would be equal to 24. So here you have 24y. If I combine these y's together. Okay, now we have a question here. I didn't see that. It says why 100, not 10? Why are you multiplying it by 100 and why not we are not multiplying it by 10? To Sheen, that's the question. Anybody can answer that? Why are you multiplying by 100, not 10? Okay, so who wants to answer that? Okay, we have answers already. Because 0.14 has 2 digits. Exactly. Because we have 2 digits here, this is the 10th hundredth digit. So if you look at this number here, we have 2 digits after the decimal points, and that is the 10th digits and 100th digits. And so as the next one, this is a 10th digit. The 100th digit is 0, but because of this 4 for 0.14, we need to multiply by 100. If I multiply by 10, I still would have 1.4. It's still not a decimal for the first time. Okay, looks like you got that. Very good. All right, so if I add these two, I would get 24y equal to, and I can add 84,000 to both sides of the equation. If I do that, 84,000 would go to the right, plus added to 420,000. So I would get 420,000 plus 84,000 126,000. 24 is equal to that. I probably need to move on to the next page. Let's continue there here. 24y is equal to 126,000. Divide both sides by 24. And some of you already put your answer down. Okay. Roberto, you say 21,000. We have Okay, there was a miscalculation here. So this would be when we add these two numbers, we have 420,000 adding to 84,000. You would get 504,000 divided by 24. Then that would give you 21,000. Okay, let me see if everybody are okay with this. Looks like some of you have a question. Okay, so y is equal to 21,000. Let me stop right here. We'll go back one more time, make sure we can follow this. Now here we have 24y. We're adding 84,000 to both sides of the equation here. When you add 84,000 to both sides of the equation, then you would see that 84,000 to the right of the equation with a plus sign in front of it, and then you add those two, you would add up to 504,000 and divide both sides by 24. The amount that we're investing in the account that gives us 10%, we already figured out is 21,000. So let me see if you can follow that so far. If you can follow up to this point, please put a check mark next to your name. Sorry for confusion there. So we have to be careful to add this correctly. So we have y would be, make sure the final exam and all the exams, you should have a dollar sign or unit in front of each problem. So when you finally give us the answer, you have to put 21,000 invested at 10% account. That's what our first answer is. Now let me make sure everybody okay with this so far. Okay, Renee, this is from take-home test number 2. If you log into class, you'll see that. Okay, I still have Heidi. You put X next to your name. Are you okay so far? What we're doing? What part you don't understand, so I can explain to you? Oh, Heidi's saying that I don't understand how y minus 6,000 got put into the equation. Well, let's go back and take a look at that very quickly because that's very important. That came from the very beginning. We assumed that we are investing X dollars into the first account, and we're assuming that we are investing Y dollars into the second account that gives us 10%. And then if you read the question here, it says the amount invested at 14% is, this is the amount that we're investing in 14%, which is X. Is means equal $6,000 less than the amount invested in 10%. Well, the amount invested in 10% is Y. 6,000 less than that would be Y minus 6,000. Okay, how do you see you're okay, so you understand how that came about? So we started with our assumptions that X is the number of dollars, how much you're investing in the first account. We just assumed to be 14%, and that's the question from Sashane saying, doesn't matter which one we call X, which one we call Y. No, if you call the first account Y, then the second account would be X, and when you do the calculations, at the end, you would get one of those amounts first, but you will still come up with the correct amount for each account. Okay, now Heidi, you got a little confused from this part here. Let's look at that one more time. So you understand up to this point here, right? Can I? Right. So you understand up to this point. So let me write that down. One more time, because there was a little confusion there. I just want to start with this one, make sure you follow it. So here we have 14 y minus, and then here we have 84 1000 plus, then we have 10y is equal to, and here we have 420,000. You're okay up to this point, Heidi, right? You said yes before. Okay. Now, if you look at these two terms, these two add up to 14y plus 10y is equal to 24y. Minus, let's just do this step by step, make sure. Follow that. That's what we have. Remember, we're solving for y. So here, I have to add 84,000 to both sides of the equation. In order to isolate the y, that's what we're doing. Okay. So here we have 24y. This add up to 0 is equal to. This is where we added wrong last time. And that's what we have. Do you follow up to this point, Heidi? Okay, now that's what we did. And now if you add these two correctly, you would get to what we have here. Next page. You get 24y is equal to 504,000, and then divide both sides by 24. That's how we get y is equal to 21,000, which is that's the amount we're investing in that account. That gives 10%. So can I see check mark next to your name if you can follow all that so far? And I see Daisy just joined us. Daisy, if you can follow up to this point, you can go ahead and put the check mark next to your name. If you just got in and you're not sure what we're doing, you need to go back and review the session. It's going to be in the class announcement. Review the session again. Okay, so now we have to figure out how much we're investing in the other account, which is pretty simple. We have the relationship here. Yeah, we're doing take-home test number 2, Daisy, and we're looking at problem number 20, take-home test number 2. All right. As you see the relationship between x and y, we already have it here. X is equal to y minus 6,000. So there we have x is equal to y minus 6,000. So the amount that we're going to invest in other account, which is x, is equal to the amount that we're investing in 10% account, which we already figured it out, which is 21,000. Minus, if I subtract 6,000 from this, that would be the amount that we're investing in other account, which is going to be 15. Make sure you put the unit in front of them, 15,000. So this would be at 14% account. Okay.